When fight fans think of marvelous Marvin Hagler, he is usually spoken about as a seek and destroy monster.
Because I'm out there to rip his head off. I got H-U-R-T written in my mind. That means I'm going to destruct and destroy.
Hagler in the 1980s was Mike Tyson before there was Mike Tyson. He was not only the best pound for pound, but he was the baddest man on the planet, even though he was a middleweight.
He was the undisputed middleweight champion of the world, and most people thought he was the best pound-for-pound fighter on earth.
Marvin Hagler's blazed a trail of destruction through the middleweight ranks. He's pillaged that division, put down the pretenders, smoked them all.
And he cleaned out the middleweight division.
80 to 87, undisputed middleweight champion of the world.
Hagler was the middleweight champion of the world, and I used to have video of him running. They played it on the news. He was running on there was the dunes, sand dunes in Cape Cod in the winter, freezing cold, with a hoodie on, running, screaming, war, war!
Crazy, right?
Oh, it was amazing. Marvin Hagler made you want to just get out of your house and go running in the snow.
That's what I feel. War. That's what's on my mind. You know? See what I got on my hat? My hat says war. That's what my head's at.
An enormous cultural icon of the 1980s.
Fight fans think of Marvin as a real-life equivalent to Clubber Lang.
Like Hagler, move forward, move forward, move forward, but that shit is no dynamics to it.
Hagler's a beat the shit out of you southpaw, which is still amazing. Hagler was an amazing fighter, you know, so it's like, it's less tricky, it just beats the crap out of you. Hagler might be the most fun southpaw. There's not too many outside Hagler fights where you're not going to be entertained. Hagler was super, super fun to watch.
A forward-marching, plotting brute who just blunges his opponents viciously.
Okay, I told you I was going to eat him up like Pac-Man.
Ferocious. He was a machine.
Racist body?
Yeah. Oh, he was chiseled.
Marvin's bald head, developed traps, and ripped physique gave him the perfect image of a gladiator-like destroyer. What most people don't realize about Hagler is that he is more boxer than brawler, more Ali than Tyson. What I believe is the genesis of this misconception is the fact that Marvin's most famous fights were the last 3 fights of his career. The world-famous Hagler-Hearns bout with its legendary opening round.
Greatest first round in boxing history as far as I'm concerned is Hagler versus Hearns.
Non-stop action.
That fight with Tommy Hearns,
Oh, man,
that was one
beautiful.
of the greatest middleweight encounters of all
that
time.
fight. That was
Chaos. And they just went at it from the beginning of the round. There was very little feel-ups, just constant pressure by Hagler, right hooks, boom, boom. I mean, look at this, bro. They're going to war. These are 2 of the best middleweights ever, and they're standing in front of each other going to war. It's a crazy fight, man. And they were throwing full power shots from the moment the fight started.
Jesus.
And they're right in front of each other, man.
Which some people think it was the OK Corral. It was the OK Corral. It was the shootout at the OK Corral, where some people think it was the greatest fight of all time. You know, or the greatest 3 rounds of all time.
And Hagler winning by knockout, just as he said.
I feel as though that I have the greatest to beat Thomas Hearns. I'm going to knock him out. I mean to knock him out. So there's no doubt in my mind that I can't win this fight or that I won't knock Thomas Hearns out.
And obviously Hagler put him to sleep in the 3rd round. We understand that.
The war with John the Beast Mugabe, where Mugabe was 25-0 with 25 knockouts. Hagler boxed and eventually brawled the Beast until he TKO'd him.
Who the frick fights John Mugabe? 25-0, 25 KOs. Who fights him? He's undefeated with all knockouts. He goes and fights him, and it was a brutal fight.
When he fought Mugabe, he just kept the heat on him,
I will feast on the beast. I'm kind of tired of all this talking and everything. I'm just going to tell you this. I'm going to knock him out. That's all it is to it, and that's the bottom line. I'm going to knock him out, and he will not be the beast no more. And this man, I will end his career for him.
And he winds up taking him apart and ruins the career of Mugabe. Mugabe was never the same after that.
And lastly, the hotly disputed, often debated fight with Sugar Ray Leonard that Hagler lost by split decision.
Yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard, especially when he fought Hagler smart. Stayed away.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a close fight.
I mean, he got robbed in his eyes. He thought the split decision lost to Sugar Ray Leonard. He thought he obviously deserved that victory.
He lost to Sugar Ray Leonard. He didn't think he lost, and many people don't think he really lost that fight.
I thought he won that fight as well. No,
I did too.
Yeah, I thought he won.
To the Sugar Ray Leonard fight. Lost a controversial decision to Sugar Ray Leonard that to this day I think he won.
These three fights are what shaped Marvin's mystique to the general public. What most don't realize during this time in Hagler's career, Hagler was only fighting once a year. The last three fights of his title reign took place in 1985, 86, and 87. Marvin was at the tail end of his career and no longer needed to fight several times a year just to make a living.
And now, the king of boxing, the undisputed middleweight champion of the world, marvelous Marvin Hagler.
When we deep dive into Marvin's career, we see Hagler was a high IQ fighter that made the right decisions at the right time.
Hagler always seems to fight a thinking man's fight.
From 1978 to 1984, we see the genius of marvelous Marvin Hagler. Due to Marvin's ambidexterity, he could attack from either the southpaw or orthodox stance.
Hagler will go from southpaw to righty.
Switched from southpaw to orthodox like fluidly. Like you didn't even notice a difference. He fought just as good from both sides.
And once again, Hagler's back to orthodox. And all of a sudden he'll change back to southpaw. Now that's confusing, especially if you're good at it. Hagler is good at it.
Marvin often switched stances mid-combination, adding to his creativity and unpredictability.
And Hagler goes orthodox for a moment, leading with the left hand there and jabbing with it. That's a quick switch.
Now he's back to southpaw.
When he turned orthodox a while back in the last round, he showed he had a left jab too. Now he's southpaw again.
Well, you notice now, Hagler's fighting orthodox.
Back to a southpaw stance. Now Hagler's gone orthodox again. Hagler with that spearing right jab as he goes southpaw. Now Hagler goes orthodox again, double hooking with that left hand.
Hagler could operate from any position in the ring.
And he could fight inside, outside, he could counterpunch, he could box, he could go get you.
Marvin could attack on the front foot, Marvin can box and counter off the back foot.
I mean, Marvin Hagler was a brilliant technical boxer.
He was technically solid.
Marvin's southpaw jab is one of the best in history.
What a jab. Brilliant jab by Marvin Hagler.
Top 5 at the minimum.
Snappy. Right-hand jab by Marvin Hagler.
It's a destructive power punch.
Right jab of Hagler is very, very powerful.
That Marvin uses offensively and defensively.
That's not the same right jab I was talking about earlier that Hagler has.
Marvin can keep the fight long range, operating behind his jab.
That's a long right jab that Hagler has. That jab peppering his nose, peppering his cheekbones. Just can't get past that right jab.
Or use his jab to close the distance into mid-range.
The same right jab.
I've seen Marvin win decisions using mainly his jab, like he did against Benny Briscoe.
And he fought Benny Briscoe, who was a ton of a puncher, granite chin.
He's carrying the fight so far on the strength of his right jab, Hagler is. Hagler's right jab has been the fight so far.
And I've seen Marvin score early knockouts, and his jab was the catalyst for the knockout sequence. Marvin showcased this in his fights with Lucif Hamani.
All right, straight right jab hurt him. That's how powerful Hagler was. He hurt him with a jab.
And William Caveman Lee.
That's that right jab I was talking about, bro. It comes up. It's very effective.
It shows that he can punch short, too, as he works the inside.
Not only was Marvin a high-volume puncher, Marvin also had the gas tank to go 15 rounds comfortably while maintaining his high punch output.
Nobody was more conditioned than Hagler. Nobody. He was just constantly training, never out of shape, never got fat, and he was doing sit-ups and push-ups, and his discipline was impeccable. He just didn't get tired, man.
Hagler also had weapons for close-range battle.
Look at Hagler ripping shots on the inside. He's so effective. They're working the body and the head.
And was an active body puncher.
He'd wear you down, he'd break your ribs.
Anything Marvin had to do to win, he was capable of making on-the-fly adjustments to achieve that.
So I had to change up. That's what a mark of a good fighter, that you can still change up in the inside. A lot of fighters can't.
Marvin had a close fight with the legendary Roberto Duran.
They look at these point totals and they see that you won by 2 points, by 1 point, and by 1 point.
And with the fight up for grabs, Marvin put on a clutch performance and secured the 14th and 15th rounds to cement his victory.
It's not the point of who hits harder. It's what you got behind the punch.
Hagler is in the small exclusive club of fighters who was not only never knocked out,
never, ever, ever got knocked out in his career,
but never knocked down.
And you couldn't hurt him. He only had one knockdown his entire career. It was a knockdown. He fought Juan Roldan, and Juan Roldan kind of like, it was more like a shove, and maybe they tripped or something like that, and the referee called it a knockdown.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler is known for his ability to take a shot.
Punches bounced off Marvin Hagler the way bullets bounced off Superman.
He had an iron chin.
The moments Marvin's defense was penetrated, his chin held up remarkably.
Chin on that guy.
Marvin took clean punches from some of the hardest hitters in boxing history in Tommy the Hitman Hearns.
And Tommy Hearns was murking motherfuckers. He murked Roberto Duran with one punch. Just blah, blah. Face planted him. One punch, man. He stung him with one shot.
And John the Beast Mugabe.
Mugabe was putting people to sleep. I remember I was working at this boxing gym, and they were talking about Mugabe, like long before he fought Hagler. But he fought this dude and gave him brain damage. He knocked him out. It's like the guy was never the same again. It's like there's certain guys that just have punching power that's just out of this world. And Mugabe was one of them.
John Mugabe. The guy could knock down not one wall, but 3 walls.
Tommy Hearns, he was a bad motherfucker, dude. And then bang, he would hit you with that right hand. Bang! Dude! Boom! Come on, man! When Tommy Hearns murked people, he murked people. And you gotta understand, man, he did this to Roberto Duran. John the Beast Mugabe. And John the Beast Mugabe was terrifying people, man. He starched a bunch of dudes. He was a heavy puncher. And Hagler stood right in front of him. And he got caught with one big uppercut, and he didn't even budge. Uppercuts that were like murking people.
Punches that left other fighters flat and stiff couldn't even make Marvin take a backward step.
And you couldn't hurt him. It was crazy.
Marvin's durability regarding taking punches is well documented, and this undermines his solid defense. Marvin had intelligent footwork and elusive head movement.
Hagler's been difficult for Duran to hit. He's been blocking a lot of punches.
He has shown good defense in this fight. Better, I think, than Duran expected.
Hagler was always fundamentally sound, with his hands up and chin down.
Well, here you can appreciate the punching power of Marvin Hagler.
Continually amazed at how few punches Marvin Hagler misses.
Hagler keeps his balance and always very good leverage behind his punches.
And you saw him get that left foot back before he threw the punch just to get the leverage into it.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler is simply an all-around complete fighter.
He's an all-around fighter.
An all-time great.
Marvelous Marvin Hagler, the great one.
A legend, a champion.
He lived up to our trust. Every time he got in that darn ring, we knew what he was going to give us. Everything. Hagler forged himself in fire.
He was so mentally strong.
And he was the man of steel. And maybe the greatest southpaw of all time. And maybe the greatest middleweight of all time. Definitely right up there in the top 2 or 3.
Hagler had a weird thing that he was either born with or developed. He had giant muscles on the side of his head. Like he was born with headgear. I'm not bullshit. They had him analyzed.
With a helmet on?
This was like a big thing in the world of sports back in the day. Like that he was literally almost born for this. That's how good Hagler was.
He was an original.
He was marvelous in every sense of the word.
But above all, he is a thinking man who makes the smartest move, not the most savage move.
I can do about anything inside these 4 corners.
I want to prove to the world that I am one of the greatest.
I love you, Marvin. God bless you. Rest well, champ. Rest well, champ. You were great.
Thank you so much for being with us. Marvelous Marvin Hagler.